And so we've had so many instances where Washington, D.C., and a lot of our government leaders have basically allowed illegal aliens to harm U.S. citizens, and they just don't seem to care. They seem to almost want it, encourage it. And I think some of them do. I think some of them are, do-gooders and like, oh, well, these are just people. We need to help them. But I think some of them really do. If they had the chance to, they would throw us all in a gas chamber and replace us with third world people. And it's kind of hard to distinguish which one's which. I think George Soros is in the latter. I think some of the people, the higher ups are in that ladder. I think some of the bureaucrats are they feel that way. I mean, look at the way they treat our veterans. They literally let them die. Look where they've treated California fire victims. They're having to live in tent cities in Walmart parking lots, but the illegal alien caravans, they're given actually much better shelters. Yeah, it's better to be an illegal alien than it is to be a veteran at this point, or a victim of the California fires, which were caused by leftist environmental policies. And some fires in the past, hey Stephanie, have been caused by illegal aliens. You don't ever hear that much, but some of the fires from earlier were actually caused by illegal aliens who go camping. They often leave their trash behind. Of course, they don't care about the environment. Neither does the left as well. Yeah, that's another thing. Is they always demand that people adjust to their culture. When they infiltrate an area, they demand Sharia law zones, and that's why they want to desecrate the 9/11 memorial area with a mosque, because that's what they do. They conquer, they wage war, and then they desecrate. Nothing is sacred to them. There's never been a Muslim ever give up a mosque or anything else in advance for freedom. I think there was one time Pope John Paul was asked if a mosque could be built in Vatican, and he said yes, when a church can be allowed to be built in Mecca. And that was denied, because the Muslims never give in to anything. They never give any kind of advancement in freedom at all. We spend billions of dollars in Iraq, but because of their culture, there's still, we have like a fake constitution, but in reality, it has to be there was a lot of fighting just to get even a little bit of freedom. But yeah, the Muslims, especially the hardline Muslim countries, they almost never give any actual real freedom. And then I've talked about this other issue, which is disgusting to me, is a lot of these third world countries, both the Muslim culture and in the Central and South American culture, they use kids as human shields. Now this isn't a new technique. Of course, the Viet Cong used kids with bombs. The Nazis and would often have kids go near their important bombing targets. Hamas and the other terrorist groups would take women and kids near their rockets, so they'd launch them to Israel, knowing that Israel would respond, so that when women and kids get blown up, all they can say, well, it's the Israelis' fault, they targeted women and children. There was a guy, when I thought of this, there was a guy named, he's one of these fake jihadi reporters, like the ones that the Saudi Arabians cut up recently. They're not really reporters. It was like Kagori. That guy wasn't a reporter. He was a jihad propagandist. And while Saudi Arabia is an evil nation, the House of Saud we have now, and we really need to drill our own oil and also sell oil to Europe, so that Europe is not dependent on Russia and Saudi Arabia. That's a whole nother political mess. These so-called journalists are really just jihadist propagandists. There was another guy that was before him years ago. I can't remember his name, but he was known as Green Helmet Guy. He wore a green helmet. He worked for Reuters, and he would often take dead kids that have been killed in terrorist attacks and plant them in other areas, and then pick them up and show this dead child that was blown up by an Israeli bomb. And he worked for Reuters, and he's called Green Helmet Guy. YouTube, if you search for Green Helmet Guy, you should find him. And he's like, maybe 5-10 years ago that this guy was out. But there's so many instances, images. I saw one today on Facebook during the caravan when they were throwing the tear gas. This mom is taking this, looks like about a 6 or 7-year-old boy, grabbing him by the hair and trying to shove him in front of him. And there's so many images of these third world cowards using their kids. There's another one of a video of a man taking his 3 or 4-year-old and telling him to go toward the Israeli soldiers and said, let them shoot you. That's what they teach their kids. You teach your kid. We in America, we teach your kids, at least somewhat most of the time, try to teach them keep them away from violent stuff. We try to limit their screen time, all that. No, over there in the third world, they teach their kids to hate Americans and Jews and to die for Islam. Or in the Central and South American, they're taught from an early age, Norte. You have a right to go up north, and and they're taught to hate Americans too. That's why these guys are waving around their flags. They have an arrogant attitude that, oh, America's responsible for all the poverty and they're obligated to let me in, and they're greedy capitalists. And they don't know the history that the USSR and lazy corrupt politicians in their own country are the main reason why they're in poverty, not because of America. And they're not taught that. And of course, you have leftist cowards on YouTube and Facebook and all those blaming all America for all the poverty there. But that same thing happens in their country too, and they don't have an alternative. They don't have, most of them don't have the internet, or if they do, they only use it to search for crap that doesn't educate them at all. But anyway, that's kind of my little rant. Contact your legislators. Tell them on a national level we need a wall built. We need to secure the border. We do not need an amnesty. No DACA. Get rid of this. Cut the funding to these judges, especially the Ninth Circuit and these activist judges. We need to stand up to them. Enough is enough. They're now becoming a suicide pact. It's now becoming to a point that a judge could order several million people to go to a gas chamber, and I really wonder how many of them would obey it. I mean, it just seems like they could just do anything, and they could just make up any laws they see fit. On a national level, demand we want no more amnesties, no fake asylum seekers. Secure the border, secure the ports, secure the northern border. Go after these cowardly companies that need illegals like Yarby Farms and Tyson Foods and Cargill and Swiftco and these other companies at the Cato Institute and these other fake libertarian so-called free market types don't bother to name because everybody knows that it's all a lie. Demand they pass national self-deportation laws. I'd rather pass a law that just, you hire illegals, you go to jail. Your company gets shut down for a few months because you're not worth it. You're not American. I mentioned those companies. Yarby Farms, by the way, was the company that hired the illegal that murdered Molly Tilbitz. And they recently, I believe, they were raided, but as far as I know, they're still in business. They need to be put out of business. I'm sorry. By the way, illegals are not the backbone of the economy. They're less than 5% of the U.S. workforce. And most of that is these major corporations that are able to hire, that could easily hire Americans. They just don't want to. They spend millions on lobbying and on fake activist groups. So they can keep the illegal aliens flow coming in. Back in the 90s, some of these companies like IBP, which is a meat packing company, they would call immigration on themselves to raid themselves because the fine was so little that it was easier just to raid them, have themselves get raided, and then replace them with more illegal workers. In the 90s, there were 3 Mexican nationals that sued Tyson Foods because they were replaced by illegals. Of course, the case was thrown out by another activist judge. But call your congressman. Demand them to secure both the borders and the immigration system. We don't need more illegals. These tech companies like Bill Gates and all these others that claim they need HB1 visas, that's a lie. These are multi-billionaires. These are people that could fund engineering schools all over the nation if they wanted to. They don't care about. They don't need more engineering jobs. They just want to use it as an excuse to change the culture of this nation. And then on your state and local levels, first of all, there's a lot of these special elections going on. I think there's one in Mississippi that's happening tomorrow. But I know December 4th here in Arkansas, we have special elections, a lot of them for mayors. There's Patrick Thomas for running mayor of Jacksonville. In Little Rock, there's Baker Curris and Frank Scott. And honestly, between the two of them, I don't know. I think Baker Curris might be slightly better, but that's not, I could be wrong on that. But a lot of these mayors and city councilmen, they decide a lot of things on whether or not your city is going to be a sanctuary city or not. Whether or not they can pass self-deportation laws. Cities can pass self-deportation laws. There's a little town in Pennsylvania, whose name I can't remember. They were able to kick a lot of the illegals out simply by requiring proof of citizenship in order to obtain an apartment. And it's definitely within the law. It's helping the federal government enforce the law. It's it's the one thing pretty much that government is supposed to do, which is to protect you from outside invasion. That's pretty much the only reason to even have government in the first place. I mean, if they don't enforce immigration law, there's no reason to have it there. But contact your local officials, the state officials, and demand they pass self-deportation laws. That, quite frankly, I'd rather pass the self-deportation laws like in Alabama. I'd rather have that in all 50 states than even the wall. Because you cut off the illegal, you cut off the welfare, you require proof of citizenship, you kick the illegals leave on their own, and they don't come back. Alabama did that several years ago. It was very successful. And of course, the activist judge was able to cut out a lot of the improvements that were done in that, and so the illegals started moving back. But you can just see self-deportation laws work, which is why the media does everything in their power to try to hide it from you. Like, share, and comment on this. Make videos of your own. Keep Arkansas Legal on YouTube, YouTube, and Gab, which is an alternative to Twitter. YouTube is an alternative to YouTube, and of course Facebook here. That's about it. I'm actually watching Narcos, which is kind of the story of how the drug empire occurred. I did not, and I kind of forgotten how NAFTA had really helped the cocaine trafficking. Quite frankly, the bridges from Mexico to America need to have been severed years ago. We need an anti-NAFTA. We need to stop trade with them. I'm sorry, I don't care. I don't care how many millions of dollars Mexico trades with us. It's not worth it. Would you get $1 million to become a fentanyl addict, or you or your kid become addicted to cocaine or heroin? Of course not. But that's basically what we're doing. We're gaining a little bit of we're not even gaining the world, because most of the companies that trade with Mexico are a bunch of, like I said, third world cowards like Yarby Farms and others. And we're losing ourselves. So anyway, like, share, and comment. I'm gonna go ahead and watch me some show, eat me some dinner, do a little workout, and I gotta do my non-political job. I'll talk to you all later.